Welcome into the Thunder basketball universe. We are not in our studio today. We are up at the Thunder Ion. That is the Thunder's practice facility. We are recording this on March 8th. It is Saturday. It has been quite a stretch. It's been a minute since we've podcasted. It's for good reason. The Thunder's been working hard, and we've been following them working hard this entire stretch. And so we're bringing you a podcast today. And you know, every time we're up here, it's for good reason, because we have a very special guest joining us today. The one and only Isaiah Joe joining us on the podcast today, coming fresh off of a great win against the Portland Trail Blazers last night, and you're joining us after practice here today, so thank you for taking the time.
I appreciate you guys for having me. Yeah.
First of all, I mean, we haven't podcasted, since the All-Star break, and I know you guys have been running all over the place. How does it feel, just like being home for a night, sleeping in your own bed now? You've got 3 straight games at home. Yeah. It's been a little wild for you guys.
And it's very unfamiliar.
Yeah,
we've been on the road so long. It's like that almost feels more home than home right now. But it's good. It's good to be back home, just to be in our own bed, see our people, families, and just be here in Ion. We haven't been in Ion in a minute.
That's a good point.
And just play in front of the fans. Like you kind of sometimes can forget like the energy that your own fans can bring in a game. And so just like being in that environment as well is like pretty cool.
Yeah, you had 8 games in 13 nights, and both of the home games were on the second night of back-to-backs where we're flying out the next day. So, I mean, what do you even do when you get home and you're not even really home you're home for 30 hours maybe, and then you're back on the flight?
Yeah, it's just like you get home, it's like, well, I see my people. It's like, well, I'll be out of here in 24 hours, so let's not get used to this.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but it's part of it, We're not the only team that goes through it. It's part of the job, and we understand what comes with that. And I think it's good for us. It's good for us. We get to test ourselves, get to put ourselves in a lot of different environments and different situations, and so it only makes us stronger. And it makes us, cherish the moments of being back home even more.
When you're on the road for that heavy of a stretch and then you get home, is there anything just as a human being that you feel like, okay, in order to feel like a normal person, I need to just do this weekend? Like, we're here this weekend. You got Saturday, a little bit of Sunday night. Is there something? Is there a show that you're going to watch with somebody? Is there something you're going to do just to feel like a normal person?
Yeah, for me, it's seeing my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my trainer lives with me as well. I miss him as well. So just getting to see my guys, just being around them, being around the people that I love and that love me. It makes it feel like home. So.
What kind of dog do you have?
Australian Shepherd.
Okay.
Live wire.
What's the name?
His name is Blue.
Blue.
Yeah. He's got like a Rottweiler fur coat, but he has blue eyes.
Okay. So we know Jay Will has his dogs as well. Zeus.
Right.
Zeus is one of them. So do you guys get the dogs together? Like, is that a thing that you guys?
My dogs kicked it with Jay Will's dog one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just ran around. It was at Chet's house. They just ran around the backyard the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, but that was about the only time we've done that. But we haven't been back. Really.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Australian Shepherds, they need a lot of stimulation.
Yeah,
they need a job at all times. Yeah.
But you know what? He probably doesn't get as much exercise as an Australian Shepherd normally gets, but he does a really good job of listening. The only time he may not listen is if we have guests over. Like for the first 10 minutes, like you can't tell him nothing. He just wants to play. He just wants to play with everybody. Totally. You walk in the house, he sees you as a toy.
Yeah,
he's one of those. But
is he young? Is it a puppy? Or
he just turned 2.
Okay.
February 25th.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I could see your Australian Shepherd looking a lot like you on the court, running off screen. You're like, you're in constant motion on the floor, and I could just imagine your dog being like
it's
that
crazy.
too.
When we're at home, we got a couch downstairs. And whenever I'm feeling well, like up to it, I chase him around the couch. Like, I think it's helping me more than it helps.
Keep footwork, man. You got to duck between the coffee table and the side table.
Yeah. Keeps him in. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's talk about the game that took place just last night inside of Paycom Center. You guys this stretch obviously took a toll on this team. There were a lot of guys out. You had 6 rotation players out for you guys. So it was a lot of different lineups for you guys out on the floor the other night. It didn't seem to matter whatsoever. Me and Nick were talking. It was like, there were a lot of different faces on the floor, but that was still Thunder basketball that we saw. And you guys took care of business against Portland. What was the mentality for that group going into that game, knowing that you were going to be without several of the main guys?
Yeah, first off, I think as a whole, every guy that we have on our team, it just has the next man up mentality. And we're so used to being on the court with different lineups that it doesn't really phase us all too much when we're out there. And we still play the same brand of basketball, you know, aggressive on defense. You know, we feel like we win it on the defensive end, playing together on offense. So stuff like that doesn't change. Being able to trust in each other, you know, no matter who's playing and who's not. So things like that help us, you know, get over the hump in nights like yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the trust exists internally, and you know the way that you guys just operated on the floor. Nobody seemed surprised by anything. I mean, you run everything through J-Will at the high post, and it's like, okay, everybody knows what to do. What's that feeling like on the floor when you kind of feel like you've got the opponent on their heels in that way?
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, sometimes it's almost like as they don't expect it to be the way it is, but we have such an aggressive way of playing offensively and defensively. It's like anybody's a threat out there, and so when guys are not playing, we still have weapons, and so and I think it showed in last night's game. But just being able to be consistent with that is kind of what helps us. Yeah.
You know, what's been really cool is the last 2 games now in post-game, Mark has given you a lot of credit for your defense and your energy on the defensive end, and particularly last night against Portland. I mean, you had a block in that game. You had a steal. Like, you were very energetic. You were all over the court. What has been your mentality on the defensive end? Have you felt yourself kind of take strides forward in that area?
Yeah, and, you know, defense is something that I've always taken pride in.
Yeah.
You know, since I've been younger. I've been, you know, always quote-unquote undersized, too small, so I got to have, you know, the chip on my shoulder on the defensive end. So when I'm out there, I don't want to be the weak guy, and I want to win my matchup every single time. We got great defenders like Lou, Dub, Queso, Alex Crusoe. Like, I don't want to be the one go out on the court and it's like, oh, he can't play defense, so we're going to pick on him. Like, nah.
No, you're not.
I mean, you can try, you know. Teams try.
But your chest is in the play on every play. Your feet are moving. I mean, there's even been a couple that, like, over the last, I mean, we're not going to talk about the officials, but, like, I'm like, you're in the right position. Like, what else are you supposed to do? You know,
right
like,
there.
It's like, your feet are moving. But I only say that to say, like, every night you are solid and in the spot that you need to be in. And it seems like in this defense, that's kind of the whole thing is, like, be in the right spot, and then our length and activity can do the rest of the job.
Yeah, but what makes it even easier is the fact that we play team defense.
Yeah.
Like, we don't leave anybody out on the island. So, like, when I'm being aggressive on the ball, like, I have faith that, you know, our guys are in the right spots to help out if need be. And vice versa, they would expect the same from me. So, being out there is really easy to, you know, have that aggression on the defensive end when you know that your teammates have your back. So, yeah.
We've seen you, just last question on this, we've seen you take some charges on some, like, very, very big players. Like, I mean, like, we're talking centers. And, like, you know that they're coming your way. It's not like a surprise that you're about to, you know, take on some contact from bigger players. There is a fearlessness to you of being able to sacrifice your body in those positions. Have you always had that? Is that something that in the NBA you had to kind of just pick up?
I picked that up in AAU basketball.
Really?
Yeah, I had a coach. His name is Bill Ingram, and he was very tough. He's without him, I would not be here. And so it got to the point where, like, obviously I could score, I could shoot.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, if you can't play defense, like, if you can't get stopped, if you can't find some other way to stay on the floor, like, you're not gonna be able to play for me. Yeah. And so that's kind of when I picked up. I had to be smarter because I'm not bigger or stronger than anybody. So, like, just being in the right spots, help defense, led to me learning how to take charges. And after that, it was pretty much history. I've been taking charges, probably since, like, 6th grade, 5th, 6th. Yeah, so it's like second nature. Like, even if I see somebody come, I'm like, I don't want to take a charge on him. It's like
this might hurt a little bit.
it happens. I can't help it.
It would be very easy to make a business decision in those situations, but you never, ever do. It's very impressive.
I appreciate that.
That's something you and J-Will have in common, too, is he's a big-time charge taker. And I just wonder...
It must be a Fort Smith.
I think so. I mean, it's got to be.
Right?
It's got to be. And, I just wonder what it's like for you to see him thrive the way that he did last night. Obviously, he gets a triple-double. And, stats are one thing, but just to be thrust in the position that he was when he's got an inconsistent role. I mean, Shea was gushing the other night about like someone in Shea's position will never know what it feels like to be in the role that Jay Will is in, and so he doesn't take for granted the poise and the love that he brings to the team all the time.
Yeah, one of the toughest things to do in this league is to perform, especially whenever you're inconsistent with your minutes. Yeah. You don't know if you're playing tonight. You don't know if you're getting thrown in the first quarter, second quarter, not at all. So, like, for Jay Will to be, like, a professional, which he's been since he's, been at this organization, since I've known him, it just speaks volumes of, like, how ready he is whenever his number's called. He went 4 for 4 in the Memphis game, he's a team player. He just plays to win, tries to make the right plays at the right time. Big charge taker as well, sacrifices his body. So puts the work in. When he gets out there, he produces. Yeah,
there's no chance to ease into the game and start 1 for 5 or whatever, and it's just like it's ready. A tough spot.
And you guys had a couple of really cool connections in that game last night. Just him finding you for looks. My favorite one personally, the between the legs pass to you for that, just curling off, finding that 3. We've seen that from Jay Will, and we've seen that from iHeart now with you. Is that something you guys are like repping in practice, or is that just something like that has come up organically and naturally?
I think it's more organic. I mean, I think just in-game repetition is kind of where we get our best, looks at things and just get to play around with different ways to get open, find more shots. They do a tremendous job creating action. I think they're, the best out there at doing it. They're unselfish. They try to make the right play at the right time. And so when it comes to those DHOs or whatever it is, they just try to get the ball there however, whatever means possible. Yeah. So I don't know if it's like purposeful flashiness or anything like that, but like sometimes you gotta drop the ball first so you can get a good screen on the guy, or you gotta so they're definitely doing a really good job with that.
You're amping up the creation too in your game. I mean, probably the play of the night last night was you cut baseline, great pass to you, and then an amazing pass from you kind of back behind your body, bounce pass to Dylan Jones. What's gone into your work in the midst of still working on all the parts of your game that are like what make you an incredible player, but to add and round out your offensive creation abilities too?
Yeah, I mean that's I've always been trying to expand my game. Obviously trying to keep the main thing, be able to knock down shots. But we got great players like Shea and Dub and Chet that just create so much for our offense that stuff like that doesn't always have to be shown. It's just like we can simplify the game, but whenever it's time to create a little bit, then it's doable. Just like Jay Will showed that with opportunity, he can get a triple-double. So it's just one of those things, skills that some players have that just don't get shown all the time.
Is that something that as you all look ahead to the games that are going to have prime importance, late in the season, postseason, like having everyone, I mean, it seems like every single player on this team can shoot, pass, dribble, defend. Is that something that you all look ahead as like, this is an investment in that time of the season when teams are obviously going to be trying to take Shea and Dub and some of these guys out of the game?
No, it definitely makes us more versatile. And I think when you get into those high-stake games and they do try to take, Shea and Dub off the ball, we have something that we can go to with pretty much everybody that's out there on the court. So it definitely helps our game. It makes it easier for those guys too. Whenever we can, pick up the slack whenever they're getting taken off the ball or things of that nature. So definitely goes hand in hand, and it's been working for us.
I want to stay zoomed out a little bit just over the context of this season. You guys have 52 wins now. Obviously, you've been the number 1 team in the West for the majority of the season. One thing that we hear so often with this group, which we've heard for the last few years now, is the 0-0 mentality. That's, I feel like, a little easier to do when you're on the other end of this and maybe, you're coming off a tough loss and it's like, all right, get back to 0-0. But when you are, as successful as you guys have been this season, consistently successful, how do you maintain that still 0-0 mentality at this point?
I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding. We just kind of see how that it works. It's one of those things like you understand that it works, so we're not gonna change it. And as much as 0-0 is like a mindset when you're losing, it's also got to be a mindset when you're winning, because you can get complacent. You can get bored out there. One thing we don't want to do is like get stagnant. We want to keep building, keep growing. Even in games where the odds are well in our favor, we still want to work, our scheme and get better, at the end of the game, because we know that we can still win games and be getting worse. But
Right.
we don't want to do that. We want to make sure our strides are consistently going upwards. There
seems to be just a level of personal, I guess, discipline, conscientiousness with every guy on this roster. Is it, when you look around in the locker room, is that what you're seeing? What are you seeing in your teammates?
It's pretty cool because we have such a young group of guys, and we operate like an AAU team a lot of the time, just the way that we bond and whatnot. But everybody's a professional. We all know the goal that we're trying to reach. We understand how we're trying to get better and how we're trying to grow through the season, so we can be as strong as we can come postseason. It's really cool being a part of this team where we can operate like such a young mind group of people, but still perform as though we're all veterans and we understand like what's at stake.
The professionalism is off the charts, but I love that you guys can turn it on and also be that fun, group that really enjoys being around each other. So fun to see. Like when you dumped a bunch of water on Jay Will after the game the other night.
I mean, you gotta have fun, man. This is our job, but it's our lifestyle. It's a sport that we love. I think the fact that we are able to have so much fun with the game, it helps us. It helps us build chemistry. It makes everybody more relaxed when we're out there playing, not doing as much thinking. It's just you gotta have fun, man.
And it can be, basically 8 months out of your year that you're in this daily. Your whole family's, friends' lives kind of end up being a little bit oriented around the NBA calendar. So I love the way that you're saying, like, it's our lifestyle too. How have you felt like you and your family have kind of been able to embrace all of that?
I think me and Jay Will are really in like an ideal situation. My parents, they don't miss a home game. They're 3 hours down the road. They drive up and they drive back the same night if they need to. I mean, they stay at my place whenever they're at my place right now. But I get to see them every home game. It's kind of like when I played in college. I was 45 minutes from my house. I got to see them, all the time. But I think just being here with this great organization and being able to, constantly see my family is like, it's nice reassurance.
Yeah, it's perfect. They're close. They're not living in your neighborhood right down the street from you, but they're close enough.
Close.
Exactly.
They can see all the games. They can always show up if you need it. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's just something that's like, sometimes you could take stuff like that for granted. Because when I was in Philly, obviously I didn't see them as much.
Great point.
But now that I'm here, I'm like, oh shoot, this is what I've been missing. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Cool.
All right, last thing for you before we let you go. You guys are heading into a very unique back-to-back against the Denver Nuggets. Going to play them on Sunday at noon and then turn around and face them again on Monday. What's kind of the approach for you guys? Obviously, Denver's a unique team. They're a challenge by themselves, but in a mini-series like this, that presents a little bit of a different challenge.
Yeah, they're a playoff-ready team, and so I think this is not just me, but the team, we believe that this is where we can truly test ourselves and figure out how, to beat teams and beat them consistently, especially these top-tier teams, because there's a good chance that we'll see them in the postseason. So being able to continue to grow as a unit, grow chemistry and just dominate each and every night. We have to understand that games like the ones that we're rolling up on, they're going to be true testers. And I think that the hive mind that we have, we understand that.
You mentioned that they're playoff ready, and it just strikes me, them, Boston, the teams that have won lately, they didn't microwave anything. And, you guys are going to write your own story and are writing it. But what do you maybe take from seeing some of these teams that are playoff ready and the things that they had to go through, the kind of the camaraderie or the connection that they built, and maybe see kind of you guys are trying to build something similar in that regard?
Yeah, I think you just realize the professionalism that those teams have, the adversities that they had to go through to make them stronger, the same ones that we go through to make us stronger and help us perform day in and day out. I think that's like some of the biggest takeaways from the top tier teams that you see that win in the past. Like it's not easy. It's a lot of work. Like you said, maybe 8 months out of the year. So just understanding, that, and understanding what's at stake and what's the end goal is, you can take away a lot from
It's been so cool to see the consistency that you guys have played with, although you guys have had your fair share of adversity this season. And so seeing you guys be able to maintain that system and that identity throughout all of that, it's been so very impressive. We're looking forward to seeing how it fares out for the rest of the season. Isaiah, thank you so much for joining us. As
thanks,
always,
Isaiah.
you're
Appreciate
the
you.
best.
Appreciate you guys.
And thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up and catch you later.